Afternoon. It's Monday afternoon, and I thought, well, I'll get on here for a few minutes. I'm not going to stay on very long. I don't have a whole lot to say. I was going to talk a little bit about the economy that we're in right now. We're suffering some inflation, and I look for it to pick up, not slow down. The reason I say that is because the price of fuel has a direct effect on everything we have in the United States. Anything we purchase is affected by it. And our comfort is affected by it as well. The heat, the electricity, a lot of it's generated through fossil fuels. So the price of a barrel of oil or cubic foot of liquid petroleum, as it goes up, so does everything it touches. Every vehicle, every car, parts for those cars, our clothing, the roads that we travel. Our taxes go up, not even counting the taxes on the fuel itself. We pay a heavy tax on using fossil fuel. I have to clear my throat every once in a while. Sometimes, this time of the day, that I start having little problems. It gets a little clogged. Through no fault of anybody but me. When I was young, I smoked, and I didn't quit till I was 40. And it was a little too late by then, and I knew it because the doctor told me when I quit, I should have quit a lot earlier. But that's my burden, not yours. The inflation, the last administration made it run up about between 35 and 40%. And because of that, the buying power of everybody out there was affected. There was nobody that was not. Unless you're not having to pay taxes, you're living out in the boonies somewhere where you never see civilization, something on that effect. Now, for me, I'm on a fixed income, and I don't have an opportunities to try to change it like a lot of people out there that are still working. And I've been retired, it'll be 17 years pretty soon. And I never thought that things would get out of hand like they have. Now, some out there told me, said, well, we're doing just fine. Our stock is doing great. And I invested in a lot of the same stock that a lot of you people did. I don't know if you think I'm not too intelligent, or if the fact is that maybe you're not, I don't know. But when you come back with telling me that you were able to do just fine in this economy, you see, your classification changes. I was in probably what I consider upper middle class as far as financial income when I retired. And I thought that I had crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and my future is being able to be comfortable until the day that they plant me 6 feet under. Hell of a way to put it, isn't it? But when you're on a fixed income, it don't really go up. What you can accumulate may, okay? It depends on if you change your lifestyle. Now, having a little bit of a pension and investments and stock and 401 and Social Security, all those things, they will make your uh, retirement comfortable if you put enough away. And I thought I had, because my investments paid for my living along with Social Security. And I was actually able to put a little bit away at it, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And I never thought that things would get out of hand. But when it did, I thought, okay, I kind of thought, what can I do about it? Well, I can reinvest a little different way, take a little more chance, whether it's in stock or other things. Not keep as much in a cash pool. You know, anything that I don't need over the next 6 months to a year, I can afford to invest it. And I need to do it in such a way that I don't completely lose it. In other words, if somebody goes broke, my money goes with them. I don't want to invest that way. Stock market, when you lose, it's it. It's gone. So that's one of your best makers of money, and it's the biggest loser in money. Depends on how it was done. Now with me, I don't do my own investments. I have a broker do it. And for the most part, the broker's way ahead of what anything I can do. But the average over all these years, I've been lucky enough that on most of the stock, I think I've coming out somewhere like 4.5% to 5%, somewhere in that neighborhood on gain. But inflation has been bouncing off from it back and forth. And the example is that in a 4-year period in the last administration, 35 or 40% loss. If I don't do anything at all, it takes me at least 10 years to get that back. 10 years. I've been retired almost 17. Well, that kicked my butt. Well, see, inflation on other years, like one administration, it was like 1.5% a year. So, goodbye 6% on top of what I already lost. So, other administrations, it was worse than that. Now, during this administration that's in there now, stock has went up pretty good. I think I'm up around 11% in the last year. Well, that's pretty good. Except I'm still not where I was 6 years ago. Still didn't reach that point. So for whatever it's worth to you, you can tell me all kinds of stuff, but your buying power is not caught up, nor will it probably. Once it's gone, it's gone. Inflation eats it up and spits it out, and I don't know what hole it goes into, but it's not one I've been able to find. Yeah, I'm still clearing my throat. Just excuse me a little bit. As I talk, phlegm wants to work its way out. When a country outspans its growth, it shrinks on itself. And you and I are the ones that pay for that shrinkage. That's a natural fact. A country, I'll give you a country as an example that's not very far from us. Cuba is right off our coast. You can get to it off my jet ski if you wanted to. Back in the 50s, their country gained their freedom and lost it all in one coup. Fidel Castro beat the regime that was there and formed his own dictatorship. Said, I'm going to take it and I'm going to give it back to you guys. But when he gave it back, he made a lot of rules. He couldn't make money. Nobody was allowed to get ahead of anybody else. Cuba didn't really have what you call manufacturing. They had some crops, but tourist was one of their bigger things. Other countries had to be involved for them to have money growth. They were good at it. But Castro, in all his wisdom, didn't like people that were crooked, even though they shared more of their money with the citizenry. Wrong is wrong. So you get a guy in there that has this in his mind, and he said, you're going to follow my rules, and that's it. If you don't, you go to prison or you die. One of the two. No, I'm not going to let you go to some other country unless you do things so wrong I can empty my prisons out. Well, the country completely has collapsed on itself. The result has been this. Castro took all the buildings, the land, and all that stuff and put it under government, not only just control, but own it. You get to utilize it if you're a Cuban. And he gives out a check. I think it's less than $20 a month for you to, and you have script. So if you go to buy something, it is limited in the amounts because, quite frankly, there's not enough meat or enough things to go around to feed everybody to the amount that they would like to have at this point. And they have to cheat the system to stay alive under threat of going to prison if they break different rules. It's not like the United States. And there's some awful good people down there. They've held up very well, better than I could have under that same type of a system. And I'm using them as an example, which probably doesn't make the people down there very happy. But we're headed in that direction. No, the government doesn't own our land, but they're spending our money. And I say our money, and you're saying, well, Ray, it's not your money. Well, the tax money that was collected was my money before they took it. So it still was my money at one time. They gave it away to other countries. They allowed other countries to out-manufacture us. Essentially said, well, let's go ahead and let them do it. And then we come along and say, well, we'll just tariff the heck out of you. Well, what good does that do if we don't have any competition for it? You see, if we don't make our own shirts and pants, it's all made somewhere else, and we're going to charge them more. Who really is it with that charge? It's us. Okay. Now, if we're taking that same tariff money and reinvesting it in business, saying, okay, here you go, we're going to help you get started. Now, Japan did that. They were very successful at it after World War II. You can say something with your mouth, but the reaction or the action that you actually do after you tell somebody, well, this is good for you, you have to show them. You can't just go out and do things. And I'm not talking about anything against the mega corporation or anything else. It's temporarily, it's actually helped us a little bit. But we still have to have that investment of outside manufacturers coming to our country so we can work in those factories and again generate money. Now, the only thing we have in abundance is fossil fuels. And if we sell them all off, we won't have any very soon. Okay, it'll disappear on us. And back, in my day, my money, a lot of it was made through nuclear plants. That was my biggest paycheck, was when I worked on nuclear. Products I invented are in plants around the whole United States and around the world. If they'd have kept manufacturing nuclear plants, I'd have been with it till the day I retired. But the end was coming when I got out of it. I was 41 years old when I changed and went to something else because the nuclear industry was dying. The states weren't going to let them be built. They considered them unsafe. Out in California, there's 2 plants out there, Indian Point 1 and 2. They're not Indian Point. Diablo Canyon 1 and 2. Indian Point is up in New York. I was up there as well. Anyway, California did everything they could to make sure that no nuclear plants would ever be built out there because they just considered them unsafe because of the way they were designed and built. And they were scared of radiation. And yet it was the cleanest and the least amount of contaminants of anything that we had built up to that point that would generate power. And if we were done right, without too much greed, they probably would have lasted a long time. We're at a standstill as far as growing our power grid. And then we come along and said, well, we need to turn everything into electricity. Okay? We have to do that either with solar or wind, one of the two. But yet we don't have enough of that. But we pass the laws that say you're going to do it. You've got to have so many cars out there. By the way, you can't drill for oil. You can't frack for liquid petroleum. All these rules went up, but we didn't cover our bases very well as a country. And the result was that showed very quickly, you have states like California that their budget is way, 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 way more than what they take in. And so they went to 6 years ago, they went to the government and said, we need bailed out, and the government did it because they had the right administration to take care of it. But then within a year, they were back in the hole again. They had not learned their lesson. As a country, we hadn't learned our lesson because now as a nation, we're following their footsteps. You can't blame everything on California. You have to think about the people that were laying this groundwork out for us to go bankrupt, because it's as sure as going to happen as it can't be helped. I don't know when the day is when you and I, if I'm so lucky enough to live long enough, will finally realize I no longer have a nickel in my pocket. And I remember as a kid when I only had a nickel in my pocket, and I chose to use it on a Danish roll. The same Danish roll today is about $1.75. I paid a nickel for it when I was about 10 years old. Things have changed. People have seen it coming for a long time. And I'm just giving you a little bit here. I know it don't make a whole lot of sense. It sounds like somebody rambling and doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm just telling you what has happened to this point. How many out there have ever got to the point where they overspent their income and ended up bankrupt? Nothing you could do about it at that point, was there? People pointed their fingers at you, said you didn't know what you were doing. But we have a good teacher. Our states, the administrators of the state and the government, federal government, have been doing it for a long time, over 100 years. And they promise us something they can't deliver. And then they collect it from us, and then they give it back to us with strings attached. That's how it works. Now, we're not under a dictatorship at this point. But we probably soon will be, because somebody's going to sell us a bill of goods saying, I can fix this. You know, it happened to the Cubans down there. Castro got in there and whipped the government, took over the government as a dictator, and said, I'm going to make it fair for everybody. Everybody's equal, equally poor. You don't have anything, and you'll like it. And after 3 or 4 generations, the people don't know any different, and they have liked it up to this point. But now they're facing starvation, lack of power. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. I don't know if they can put enough logs together so they can build a raft to the United States. I have no idea. Or if other countries are going to go in there and give them a lifeline or not. They've lived under everybody else's support, you know, through Southern Americas, and before that, Russia. Who's going to support us when we get to that point? Because we're getting close. We're knocking on the door. During COVID, we couldn't buy products. And why was it? Because we didn't manufacture the product. Paper products were short. Tech products were short. and people that manufacture them are keeping a lot of it for themselves. And then when it was doled out to special people, and they could charge a lot more at the time, therefore inflation. I don't want to get too deep in it today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of something to think about out there, of knowing when is enough enough. Back when I was a kid, not a whole lot of people had a lot of money. But we did have the comfort in knowing that we were going to put food on our table and we had a roof over our head, even though we were the ones that had to put the roof up there and maintain it. We did a lot of our own work on the cars, but the cars could be worked on back then. All it took was a few tools. A bag of tools would remove an engine with no problem. That don't even come close today. The specialties or specialty equipment it takes to work on the modern car, you can't afford it, and you probably couldn't build a building big enough to hold what all it takes. Now my garage is full of tools, and I can repair most things, cars and trucks. But it's getting harder and harder, and I can't afford some of that stuff. I still have to take it into the dealership for minor things, or minor on the scope of mechanical. Anyway, I gave you a little bit to talk about. Maybe you can drop some things in down here in the comments. Tell me what you think of the economy and how we're going to fix it. Who's to blame for all that? But please use your head a little bit when you think about it. And don't tell me it was Republicans and Democrats and independents and all that. They all work in conjunction with each other, pulling the same strings and with the same rhetoric. Think about it in real terms. What did they do to cause it? Did you do something to cause it? Or did you allow something to cause it? It's two different things. Tell me what you think. Do you really think that they did it all by themselves, or did they do it because of what we were looking at, what we wanted? Were they buying our votes, promising something they couldn't deliver? Do we need all those little things out there? I mean, I know what we really need. We need a roof over our head, food on the table. Yeah, and jobs. And one of the problems we have right now is our jobs are somewhere else, other countries. We have a lot of people that are on the dole. Half the people in the United States are dependent on some sort of a government check in some way or another. And I'm not saying that they're getting a check that they didn't earn, because that's completely wrong. I'm talking about their honest to goodness job is working within the structure of the government, because somebody has to take our money if we're working and then hand it back, and they hand it back with strings, right? So let's go back and we'll get some kind of thing going here. I don't know all the answers. I'm just throwing something out there for us to talk about. And maybe you'll be intelligent enough to come up with some of the peanuts, which peanuts, by the way, that I'm talking about, are something intelligent that you can share with us, okay? Anyway, I'm going to get off from here. I hope I was able to get something going to get you to think about how do we get out of this mess or dilemma we're headed for. And some of you are going to say, oh man, I'm satisfied with what I got. Okay? But are you losing or gaining? And I want you to be honest with it. And when you look at what your annual income is and what you could buy, I'm talking about real buying power. The reason I know is because one of the programs that I have from the bank lets me know about it on a daily basis. And I check it at least weekly to see where I'm headed. And I adjust what I spend according to my budget, if you will. Do you do that too? Let me know. How do you stay within the guidelines. You know, it's kind of like driving a car down the road and not end up off the road somewhere in a ditch, because that's what happens to our economy if you don't guide it down between the lines. So tell me, what lines do you use to keep within your budget? With that, I'm going to let you go. I want you to have a good day today. May the Lord guide you down the right path and bless you as He does. And you have a good day.